Hey guys, it's Mike. So I'm here today to talk to you about instant messengers and different ways that we can communicate on smartphones. In particular, I'm looking for cross-platform communication devices. I'll tell you a little bit about the ones I use, and I'm kind of curious as to what you use and what works for you. So traditionally we have these smartphones, and going back in history, the original instant messenger was your text message, and that goes all the way back to dumb phones, right? You didn't even need a keyboard. For those of you that are maybe not old enough to remember, it used to be something called T9. I won't get into it. Feel free to Google it. It was an interesting way that you could use all those numbers on all those letters on a traditional keypad to send a text message. And I do remember back in the day, people were really adept at typing a massive number of words per minute, just using 9 or 10 keys. Thankfully that's passed. We've got keyboards and virtual keyboards on our smartphones. So even if you're still using the traditional text message, and there's a lot of them, a lot of people doing that, you can get away with that. Now, some of the disadvantages of text message, it used to be it cost money per text message, and that's no longer the case. Thankfully, that's in the past. It's not very high tech, right? So sending an image, for example, might take a while because it's got to use the MMS technology. It gets even more complicated if you do international travel where you're roaming on a foreign network. One example I had, when I was down in Manila, I tried to do some text messaging from my work iPhone, which is running on AT&T, and I was trying to send text messages to some colleagues and family in the United States. On my end, when I sent the message, it would retry, then it would tell me it failed. At the other end, my colleagues were telling me they were getting my message 3, 4, 5 times. So I'm just speculating what was happening is whatever return mechanism there was to tell my phone that the message was delivered wasn't happening. So my phone was continually retrying, eventually timing out and failing. Meanwhile, every one of those retries got through. That's my guess. So text messaging isn't perfect. It works in a pinch. It pretty much works on any phone. So if you're trying to deal with somebody that's got a dumb phone, for example, and there's still people out there, I know a few, text messaging is a good option for that. But there's ways you can do it better. So one of the more popular options now, at least if you're an Apple user, is something called iMessage. And Apple wasn't the first company to come up with this. Prior to this, RIM, now BlackBerry, used to have BlackBerry Messenger. BlackBerry's kind of fallen out of favor, unfortunately, but the concept lives on. Now, the nice thing about iMessage is, first, you don't even need to know you're using it. Okay, why do I say that? Because prior to iMessage, the messaging app on the iPhone was good for sending text messages. So fast forward a bit, when Apple came out with iMessage, they basically integrated it in with Messenger. So you go to the same app and you send a message, and basically on the back-end servers, what Apple does, it looks and says, am I talking to another iOS or Mac OS device? And if so, I'm going to send this over the data network, encrypt it, and deliver it. If not, let's say the other person's got an Android, I'm going to send this via the normal text messaging. So as a user, you probably won't know which route it takes to get where it's going. On the phone, if you're really paying attention, text messages come up in green, iMessages come up in blue. But if you didn't know that, you just know the message is getting there, right? So iMessage has a couple advantages, one of which is it's using your data network instead of the mobile carrier network. So that's a bit of an advantage. And by the way, let's say you're at a place where you don't have data roaming, you can still revert back to text messaging. So it's got a fallback plan. You don't need to go into a separate app for this. That's kind of nice. It's typically faster, in my opinion. It's got some other features, like if you're talking to somebody on iOS, you can see if they're typing, so it'll show you the little bubble to indicate that they're typing. Pictures go over a lot faster. And more to the point, it's also encrypted, and Apple's very proud of saying to the fact that it's encrypted end-to-end, and once it's on their servers waiting to be delivered, even they can't decrypt it. So that's unfortunately caused some consternation among law enforcement authorities. They used to be able to monitor text messages, and they really can't peek in iMessage now And you all know the story with that and how Apple's been fighting that and all that. But that's one of the advantages of it if you value your privacy anyway. So that's iMessage. Now, if everything in the world ran iMessage, I'd be like, use iMessage. We're done. Go with it. But it doesn't. So you can't iMessage to Android, and it seems, in spite of the rumors that Apple is going to release iMessage for Android, and I would really love to see them do that, they're probably not going to do that because there's really no advantage to them doing that. They did put Apple Music on Android, but that's mostly because they wanted to grow their streaming market, give them a better negotiating position with the record companies. But when it comes to putting iMessage in Android, there's really no advantage to them. It's a disadvantage because if you like iMessage, it puts you into iOS devices, helps sell their devices. Putting on Android does exactly the opposite, kind of gives you a disincentive to buy their devices if you wanted. One of the other advantages I like with iMessage, however, though, is I can be texting on my phone, or I can pick up my iPad, or I can go to my Mac computer, and I can continue to send the same message, and it's synced among all of them. So it's sort of like my messages are everywhere. I like that a lot. And as somebody that travels, one of the things you can't really do, at least not easily, from an airplane, is actually do text messaging. But iMessage works over the data plan, so if you're synced onto the Wi-Fi, typically go Wi-Fi on the airplane, you can still do iMessages to people on the ground. That's kind of cool. So again, though, the disadvantage is it's really limited to the Apple ecosystem. There's not even a web browser interface for this, so you either got to be on a Mac, an iPad, or an iPhone to do iMessage. So where does that leave us if you have another device? Like, for example, my personal device is a Galaxy Note 5, soon to be Note 7. Cannot run iMessage on this. Really wish I could. That's what we're going to talk about some of these other ones. So another option here is tried and true, old product, still works well, Skype, currently owned by Microsoft. That will let you do text messaging. It will also let you do actual voice phone calls and video messaging, which is an advantage over iMessage. If you want to do video messaging on Apple, you're back to FaceTime, which is also a pretty cool product because from iMessage you can just flip right into a FaceTime video call. But Skype has all that built in, and it's cross-platform. Works on your PC, on your Mac, and on your Android device, and even on iOS. So everybody you know has the ability to run Skype. I typically have it on my device. I have a lot of people that I do talk to on it. I like it. There's a few people I know that for whatever reason don't have it. But Skype is a very good option. Other options that are available. FaceTime. Probably even more popular than Skype at this point. As a matter of fact, I know it's more popular than Skype at this point. It's got a built-in messenger, and recently, with some controversy, I guess, they had split out the messenger app from the main FaceTime app. So I kind of like them better as one. But nonetheless, you can actually have a separate Facebook messaging app now. It's good for text messaging, sending pictures. Voice calls you can do on it now. So it's may even be up to video. It shows you how often I use it. But I mean, it shows you how many features I use with it. But the nice part is everybody's got that as well. So you can send somebody a Facebook message, they'll get it. The downside is you're kind of in Facebook, right? So there's people that have concerns about privacy and what Facebook is reading as far as targeting ads go. The same story you get whenever a service is free, right? If you're not paying for the service, they're going to get their value somewhere. And in this case, they're marketing what they know about you to companies to be able to market. So if you're okay with that, it's a great service for free. The other thing I found out, which I find a little bit creepy, once you send a Facebook message, it seems to be there forever. You can't really get rid of it. If anybody knows how, let me know. But I do use it a lot. I got a lot of people I talk to on the FaceTime Messenger. Getting a little outside that, the next app that I typically have on my phone, because I have a lot of people that use a lot of different apps. I try to accommodate and use the ones I can while still not overloading myself. But there's another app called WhatsApp, which I like. It's independent, or was independent. It got bought recently for an insane amount of money by Facebook. So it's still Facebook, but it's a separate app. You basically install it. It used to be like $1 a year. Now it's completely free. It's cross-platform messaging app. It's primarily used for text messaging. It's actually it's about as lean and minimalist as you get. I like it. It can also be used for voice phone calls if you want to. So that's WhatsApp. It also shows you confirmation of who gets your messages. What I don't like about WhatsApp, now, up till now, iMessage, Skype, Facetime, you can install them on multiple devices and use them simultaneously on multiple devices. Okay, once we get down to WhatsApp and one other app I'm going to mention after this, I install WhatsApp on my Note 5 and I want to send messages. Now, if I decide maybe I want to leave this phone home tomorrow and I want to take my iPhone with me, so I put WhatsApp on this phone now. The problem is, once I activate WhatsApp on this phone, it's going to go over to my Galaxy Note and remove it and all my messages off that phone. So it can only exist on one phone at a time. There is the ability to run it on a tablet simultaneously, and there is a web-based, I think it's web-based, there's a desktop application basically you can run, I don't use it, they can simultaneously exist with your one phone. So, I don't know, I'd prefer if they had it more like Skype and FaceTime and iMessage, where you can have it on multiple phones. I don't really like the fact it's tied to one phone. But beyond that, it works very well, and I've got probably a dozen people I do talk to on it. So that's WhatsApp. There's another app I use called Line, and that's very similar to WhatsApp, except it tries to get a little more whimsical. So they started to do things, and you see this now on FaceTime and a couple other apps, but it started online. Didn't start online, it started with Line, the app, which is online. Yay. Anyway, with Line, there's these things called stickers in it. So it's sort of like, you've seen emojis. This is like emojis on steroids. It's full animated pictures, and you can, I think one of the ways they made money is they get you hooked on a few of these stickers, and then you go ahead and you start buying sticker packs for $1 or $2 or whatever it is, so you can customize your messages. So as a guy, I don't use them that often. As an adult male, I don't use them that often, but I've seen it used with especially younger ladies. They like to communicate with emotion, and these stickers allow them to do that. And it's kind of cute. I appreciate it. And I've been known to throw a few minions out there myself with the stickers. But anyway, this was a very popular feature with Line, and it still is. And if you notice with Facebook Messenger now, they've also incorporated stickers. And I think you'll see that move across all the other instant messengers as well. So I don't see Line used that much in the Northern American markets. Where I do see it is when I go work in Asia and people I met down there and people I know down there. It seems to be a very popular messaging app in that part of the world. So we're talking Thailand, Malaysia, Philippines. I see a lot of Line users down there. Less so in Australia, although they are aware of it. So you might not run into it, but it's a pretty neat little app. It's sort of clever. So it's yet another option. So that's your top options for your general purpose instant messengers. Oh, by the way, the one other thing I wanted to mention, Line suffers from the same problem that WhatsApp does. Now, unlike WhatsApp that I have on my Note 5, I have Line on my iPhone 6. If I want to put it on my Note 5, it's going to remove it and all the messages off my iPhone 6. Also, like Line, there's a tablet version and a desktop version that can coexist, but can only be on one phone at a time. So, big negative for WhatsApp and Line on that regard if you happen to have multiple phones. If you don't, doesn't matter. But it's something to be aware of. Whereas your iMessage, your Skype, your FaceTime, you can put them on as many devices as you want. Okay, and lastly, I want to talk about a very different kind of instant messenger, one that's kind of outside the category of the previous list I gave you. This one's called Wicker, W-I-C-K-R. It's available for iOS. It's available for Android. It also has a desktop version. It works on both Mac OS and Windows. And its main purpose is for secure messaging. Okay, so you install the app, you select a user ID, you select a password. Optionally, you can have it search your contact list for other people that may be using Wicker. But even if you don't want to do that, you can tell your friends, hey, I'm using Wicker, download it, and you exchange basically screen names. And once that happens, you basically, it's a basic PKI infrastructure, private key infrastructure. It does end-to-end encryption. So if I send a message to, let's say, my friend Steve, Steve would be able to decrypt my message based on my public key, and only he would be able to decrypt it. Even on the Wicker servers, they claim they can't decrypt it. So it's got basically the same level of encryption as iMessage does, except iMessage tries to obfuscate that encryption. So with iMessage, if I see a message, it just appears decoded. Now, where Wicker adds value is once you receive a message from somebody, it shows up as a little lock on your device. Once you open the Wicker app, it shows up as a little lock. And once you click that lock, it decodes the message and you can see it right there. Now, what makes this kind of unique is the sender of that message can put an expiration time on it. So he might set it to 1 hour. So say Steve sends me a message, it's a private message. I get a notification from Wicker that I got a message. I open up the app. I see a little lock on the screen. I click on the lock and it decrypts the message. And it tells me this message is going to expire in 1 hour. It's sort of like the whole Mission Impossible thing, right? Dun, 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 dun. Anyway, so you can set that anywhere from like an hour, I think it's like 7 days. But once that hour or 7 days or whatever they set it to is over, message is gone. It's no longer on your device. It no longer exists. So you read it, it disappears. Now, if you're thinking, oh, I'll just screenshot it, I can have it forever. Well, Android's going to prevent you from doing that. In iOS, which they don't really allow application vendors to disable features like screenshots. Sure, you can screenshot it, but Wicker's going to go ahead and send a message back to the sender saying, hey, Mike did a screenshot of your message. Now he's got it forever. So then you have that whole trust thing, right? If you're going to start screenshotting his messages, he's going to stop sending them to you as confidential. Now, it's not just text messages. You can also send images and audio files if you want, and they're all equally encrypted. You can password protect the app either through a standard password or through biometrics, so you can use your fingerprint to open it. And again, it's cross-platform, so I can send it to somebody on Android, they can send it to me on the iPhone, vice versa. Works very well. I kind of like the app, and I use it for some times where maybe I don't want it in my Facebook feed. Maybe it's something I want to discuss that I want off the record. So it's pretty neat that way. So there you have it. You got a bunch of instant messaging apps to choose from. What do I use? Typically for my kids, I use text message just because it seems, I guess they like that, simpler. I have one person that I use consistently on WhatsApp. They just seem to like it, and that's fine. I have it installed. I've got probably half a dozen people on WhatsApp, but I got one person that's their preferred method of communication. Works great for me, even international. I just got to remember I've always got to have my Galaxy Note with me, because remember what I told you about putting it on multiple devices. But for the most part, for probably 80% of the people I talk to would be on Facebook Messenger. So would that be my first choice? No, but that's where everybody is, so I use it. And it works well, and it's gotten better over time, and I expect it will continue to get better. And beyond that, I use Skype. So when I'm on the road and I'm traveling and I want to do video conference home, I typically like to use FaceTime, but if I'm doing it from my Android device, Skype works as well, and I'm pretty happy with it. So there you have it. Hope this helps. I am really curious what you all use and why you use it. So feel free to leave some comments below. If you like this video, please click like. And I'd be, once again, extremely honored if you click subscribe. Start some interaction with you and hopefully enjoy these videos. So that's it. Mike Fury Tech. Have a great night.